Hello, Cancer Warriors. Welcome to Power Pantaloons podcast. My name is Tanya, Holistic Cancer Wellness Specialist, and today we have Lisa with us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
What kind of cancer did you have?
I had the lovely breast cancer, one breast.
When were you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed in September of 2006.
Oh, so a while ago,
Yeah, I just passed my 17-year mark.
17 years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I I'm 16 years. I'm working on 17.
That's awesome. I mean, you hear about what kind of cancer you have, you hear about where it's infiltrating, you hear about how it's spreading, and you don't have a clue um, what the outcome is going to be. I mean, we know of both outcomes, and I'm grateful to be on the other side, as I am, you are too, to
Yeah.
just the other side of it, but still dealing with effects of it. Obviously, it never goes away. The fear, the scars, you know.
Yes, I you are absolutely correct. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with how you found out, or do you want to start with
Yeah,
where
sure. I'll start at the beginning because it seems to be the right place to start in this case. I mean, I had a lump under my right breast, like along my under my bra line, that I thought was a cyst because it hurt, and I thought, can't be cancer. Cancer doesn't hurt. So I went to my gynecologist and I said, I don't know what this is. I'm a little worried. Can you take a look at it? He took a look at it. He said, I'm going to send you to a breast surgeon. And it took me a really long time to an appointment. Not I shouldn't say a long time because they got me in pretty quickly, but she's so busy. She was so busy. I couldn't believe how difficult it was to try to meet up with her. I ended up going on a Thursday night at like 7 o'clock in Westchester, New York. And she took a biopsy, which was my first one. And it was, not fun. And by Monday afternoon, I was told I had breast cancer. So it was a little shocking because it's not really prevalent in my family. And, I just had no idea that that would be the outcome. And of course, you're shocked when you hear the word at first. You can't believe it that's happening to you. Um, and went on to find out, I had to have a couple more. Oh, I had to have like a lymph node aspiration, which was terribly painful. If anybody has to have it, ask for some kind of anesthesia or something to ease the pain because I had no idea what was going on with that, and that was very painful under my arms. They had to take some fluid and check underneath there because they wanted to see if it had spread to the lymph nodes, which it had, which then entailed me having chemo and radiation.
yeah,
It was a tough time, and
I
looking
do.
back, it was scary. You know how it is. It's scary. It's your family's scared, you're scared, but you have to put on this brave face. And I guess I just kind of plowed through it because my kids were young. It was 17 years ago. My son was 10. My daughter was 12. It was rough.
Yeah,
Um,
can't even imagine going through that with young kids.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know I mean, older kids obviously can understand more, but they get more afraid. Whereas younger kids, they just kind of have to deal with it. But I mean, I'm talking young kids, 5 and under. They don't know really what's going on. They know you're sick, but they don't really know anything. And it's just hard for the whole family. And, everybody wants to help. And, you know, it gets to the point where I had to tell my sister, you have to stop calling me every day and asking me if I'm okay. You know, I just have to get through this, and I appreciate it. I know you love me. I know you care, but it's hard. It's hard on everyone. It's not just,
Yeah,
you that are you're not the only one going through it. It's everyone. It's a whole family.
absolutely. It's a little community. It's your friends too, right? Like your little hub. So it's like it's your teeny village, as it were.
And it turned out to be um, a mighty village, and I'm forever grateful for everyone in my community, my church, my family, my friends. I mean, I got phone calls and cards and people stopping by all the time. And it kind of helped. Well, it definitely helped me get through it. It definitely restored my faith in, okay, I guess I'm supposed to still be here, because I don't know if you felt this, but I had a lot of survivor's guilt because I didn't understand why me, like, why am I making it through this, and so many other people have lost this battle. And that's tough to deal with when you're going through it.
I, I do know I have lost a couple of people to cancer. We all have, right? Um,
Sure.
the thing for me is when I got diagnosed, I was diagnosed with a carcinosarcoma. That's two cancers. And when I was diagnosed, 1 in 3 women, according to the American Cancer Society, got diagnosed. And I'm like, fantastic. If it's 1 in 3, that means that counts for two. So 5 of my girlfriends don't have to do
Saved,
this.
right,
That
right.
that's what was in my head, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you have to, all kinds of things go through your mind. I mean, I don't know. I had I didn't have a double mastectomy because at the time, 17 years ago, a prophylactic one was not really paid for by insurance. They didn't just do that. I had
Yeah.
it in one breast, take the one breast, save the other one. But, the outcome was two completely different ones. So wasn't thinking about that at the time. I was just thinking, oh, save the good one. And to make the new one, they had to do what they call a tram flap. And they took skin from my stomach as if I had a tummy tuck,
Oh,
and they created the new boob. So I was under, they did the operation, both of the operations at the same time. So I was under for about 7 hours,
a long time.
a long time. And I remember looking in the mirror before I went in, and I had Sharpie marked, all along here, all straight across from hip to hip. And I just kind of looked at myself in the mirror for the last time, the way my body looked, and just said, well, God, if it's my time, it's been great. And I'm grateful for everything, just take care of my kids and take care of my parents. And, I just said, what am I going to do? I have to just do this and go through it. And, luckily I came out on the other side, which was great, which was a miracle. And it was, more I learned about the kind of cancer that I had, it was a late stage 3, and it was spreading fast. So, you know, it was huge that they found it when they did, but I was a little aggravated because I had had a mammogram probably 6 months before. And I thought, how the hell does this thing grow in 6 months? I mean, nobody saw this. And so now that this has all happened to me, of course, every time there's something, a little blip, I have to go check it out. Check it out. And I don't wait. I don't wait. I just deal with it. And I figure if they find something, at least we find it early and take care of it. I can't live my life in fear. I won't do that. I won't worry about that because, we all have to go sometime, but I can't worry about that. I just, have to move on.
I agree. And for the most part, I do a fantastic job with that. But every once in a while, like today, for instance, I went in for my annual PAP, right? And I still get PAPs even though I don't have a uterus or a cervix or anything.
Right.
But you get the examination and I still have them test with. So today was a little rough for me
It's
because
always a hard day for that day that I get it, you know?
yeah, and some years it's fine. Some years I go in, I have no problems at all, and some years I sit there on the table and cry. It just I don't see a rhyme or reason with it, but it
Uh,
this kind of diagnosis stays with you forever. It can give you PTSD. It affects everything you do
Absolutely.
afterwards. Yeah.
Absolutely. And, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get rid of this thing in the background. Um, I think that, we can move on, and when we do, it's a good thing. I don't wake up every day going, Oh my God, I had cancer and I'm just, wow. I don't go there, but you know, as soon as I take my shirt off, I remember. And I take my shirt off every day, so you have to remember every day. And
Yeah.
you know, I think we have a conscious choice every day to choose whether this thing will define us or whether it will enlighten us and help us to push through. And I love this saying that, you know, I have scars all over me, but it just proves that I beat something that tried to kill me. And you know, I have to move on from that. And I try, you know, but you try and then you go back to regular life. You know, life's supposed to be back to normal, but it's never back to normal. It's always after cancer. You know, everything comes back to that. Well, a lot of things in my life anyway have come back to that. You know, it's not the same as it was before cancer, you know, and we're in this club that no one ever chooses to be in. That's for sure.
No. And nothing gets you more grateful than a, a, a perceived death sentence, right? Like a reality check when it comes to that. I'm grateful
Definitely.
every day, every day.
Yep. It's just it's something we have to live with. It's our new normal, our new reality. And you know, I guess there are worse things.
Yeah, yeah. I guess there are, but the treatment for this is brutal.
It really is. I mean, I remember feeling so ambivalent about my vanity because losing my hair was just traumatic to me. I mean, women aren't supposed to be bald, you know, they're not supposed to be bald, they're not supposed to lose their hair. And to lose all of it was crazy, but we kind of made a joke of it in my house. My wig was horrible. We put it on the dog. We we tossed it around, you know. It was just it was a joke, you know. And I remember my niece was really young. She was super young. God, she was only like 2 or 3 years old. And I took my wig and I went, whoop, and she went, oh, and she's like, oh my God. I was like, it's still me. You know, and that's the bottom line. It was still me inside, you know, and
You have to add some
it's just
humor to that.
you had to. I mean, because I'm not gonna lie to people and say it's not painful. It's painful. It's not fun. I mean, I had to be checked weekly before I got chemo. So they had to take blood before they put the poison in. And, you know, and I say poison and you know what I'm
As it
saying.
is.
It is poison. It's killing other bad things in your body, but it's killing everything. That's the problem. And
Yep.
I, you know, tried to eat better, tried to do whatever I could, but basically I just tried to wake up every day and get through the day when I was going through it. And I think we had talked about it another time that I was very resistant to therapy and group meetings and things, but I had this woman that was calling me from this organization in Danbury, Connecticut. That's just wonderful. The name of it is Ann's Place, and she would just call to check on me. Wasn't persistent and pushy. She was just there. And finally, I said, "Okay, I'm going to come to a meeting." And I was hooked. You know, it was a bunch of women with all different kind of cancers, just talking about things that nobody else really understands unless you go through it.
Yes. Like you can empathize as much as you want about a thing, but if you haven't actually been there, you really don't understand what it is.
You can't. Just like anything, any other experience in life. If
Yep.
you've never had kids, if you've never been in a car accident, you can't understand what it's like until you've been through it. And you could read books, you could watch shows, you could do whatever you want, but until you go through it, I mean, we would sit there and talk about our medicines. We sounded like a bunch of doctors, you know what I mean? It was like rattling off diagnoses and different medications, and oh yeah, I'm on that, and you're, you know, and but it just kind of made it normal. And
Well, it
for
was
us,
normal.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it was normal for us, you know, it was normal for our group and anybody going through it. And finally, they used to do all kinds of they had Reiki there. They had yoga. They had some special exercise classes for people with cancer. And I saw this memoir writing class, and I thought, I always wanted to write. I've always kind of written in the background, but never really did anything with it. So I said, let me give that a try. And I ended up befriending wonderful people. This woman that had taught at Western Connecticut State College or State University donated her time and would do this on Saturday mornings. And it was like a 2-hour class on a Saturday morning. And we'd have assignments, and we'd meet weekly. And I remember I'd go to my chemo appointments, and I'd put my headphones in and listen to music. The chemo was in my port, and I was writing my assignments, and I was transcended somewhere else. And I would have never had that experience if I hadn't said, okay, I need to be around people that want to talk about it. And it wasn't just women, it was men too who had lost women, or they had experienced certain cancers. And so it was like this weird common thread that we all had, and just an amazing experience. And I've had multiple ones since then. I was on a fly fishing weekend with a bunch of women, and a bunch of women who volunteer. There have been so many generous, kind people along the way. I can't honestly think of one person who wasn't kind and generous in their time or their thoughts, sending a card, sending something, calling me. It truly made me see a really good side of humanity. And,
Yeah.
again, it's a club that I didn't want to be a part of ever. But just saw the good side of people, and it kind of restored my faith in a lot of things, which I needed at that time.
Yes, because it's brutal, and you it takes a village to raise you in a normal healthy time, right?
Mhm.
So when you're going through a sickness, a trauma, you needed so much extra support, and having people with compassion and love bringing over stuffed animals and casseroles are like it is everything.
It is. It feeds your soul and your heart and obviously your body, but I mean, it feeds everything, and it's stuff that you didn't even think you needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But yeah, it
absolutely.
was tough. It was a tough time, as I'm sure you went through. And it again, I just have moved to the point that I needed to move to not let it define me in my life. I say that, but I still have other issues that have to be dealt with, and I put them on the back burner. And again, we talked about relationships and things, and I haven't had one since I split up with my husband like 10 years ago. Just haven't felt the need to go there. And it's like that really is a big change for me. I was not I was a very outgoing. I mean, I'm still outgoing. I'm not saying I'm not outgoing, but as far as dating and stuff, I just took it off the table, because I just said, how is somebody gonna look at me now? I'm how do
Yes.
you how do you say over a cup of coffee? Oh, by the way, I have one boob, and one that's like kind of like a Frankenstein boob. I mean, it's kind of a deal breaker for some people, and
Yeah.
it's just really hard. And I think it's something that I need to work on still after 10 years of not being with somebody except my husband. Before that for 23 years. Um, yeah, it takes a toll on me sometimes, because I just try to not think about it, but it's always there. And I say to myself, am I preventing this from happening by putting that out into the universe, that, oh, I'm not good enough anymore. My body's not the same way it was.
But everybody ages, and everybody has issues, and
Mm.
everybody changes, and like you're talking about something that is super important to talk about. And as a woman, when something that defines you as a woman tries to murder you, the the mental scape where you don't feel worthy, you don't feel enough, where you don't feel like a, a woman
Right.
that is allowed to be loved, because you're not perfect or whole anymore. I That was a 5 year process for me after I was done with all of the treatment. And um fortunately for me, I met a wonderful man who really helped me with that. So it's completely possible, Lisa. Like
Get it.
it
Yeah.
really is. Um, Remember how wonderful and generous people were while you were going through it. There are people out there that won't see you as broken.
Yeah. It's gonna take some work,
Yes,
and I have to deal with it now because before it's too late. You know what I mean? Before
yes, I
I
do.
point where I throw my hands up
Just
and I don't
don't.
do
Yep.
that, you know?
It's worth doing. I'm not saying it's easy, and in some ways it's harder than actually having gone through the whole cancer diagnosis. It's difficult in different ways, but it's 1,000% worth doing the work.
Hmm. I agree. I agree.
Like for me, it was about not letting cancer win, right? And while it didn't take my body, it had in some ways taken my soul, and I was like, that. So I worked through it. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I do. And that's a good perception to have. That's a good um outlook to have with that, because then you're saying to yourself, no, you're not going to take anything more from me because you've taken so much, and I deserve to be happy. I deserve this. And
Yes.
maybe that is the approach to take. And, I have to work on that because,
It's a winning approach.
yeah,
Enough is enough. I'm not letting it have anything else. It cannot have anything else. I'm done giving it anything.
right. So apparently I'm still feeding it. But yeah,
I
it's
didn't
true.
mean to make you feel some kind of way. I just that's
No,
just
you,
how I
you didn't.
saw it.
No, but it's true. I mean, if you are giving into it, in some way, and obviously I am, because I'm making it make me feel that it's that I'm not good enough, and I have to work on that.
Yeah.
I have all the love and support in my life. Really, I do. It's not. I'm not complaining about it. It's not anything like that. But there's a difference between that and companionship
Yes.
and love. Romantic
Yeah.
love. There's
Yeah.
a difference. You know,
And physical intimacy. Like that's super important for humans. We
it is.
we we need that.
Absolutely. We're all sexual beings. I mean, it's just, letting it go. Letting it go and saying, if they don't care about me for me, then they don't care about me. There's all that, there's all the regular stuff, but then you add this layer on of,
Yep.
uncertainty and doubt and
Yep.
which everybody has when they're dating new people or trying to put themselves out there. But you add this extra layer of,
Something they
stuff.
can reject you for, and it
Exactly.
and that hard rejection is hard no matter what,
Scary.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
I kind of set it in my head that, all right, you're gonna like somebody and they're gonna break your heart. So just then you'll have to just move on. But I'm like, I didn't even get to that point yet. I have to let them break my heart. I'd rather be open 100% than
oh
give
yeah,
10%
absolutely.
something.
Yes. But it's absolutely okay to have very open and frank conversations very early in the dating activity.
And, I'm not a child either. I'm not a teenager anymore. I'm not in my 20s. I'm not in my 30s. I'm not in my 40s. And I'm just leaving my 50s very soon. So really, I shouldn't care anymore about that, about not being honest and open about everything, you know?
Correct. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
um I'm gonna say something funny now, right? Like, so I heard about there's a senior community somewhere in Florida, like an over 55 community, and they put bath loofahs on their car antennas to that's their dating profile. this color means that they like this thing, right? Like, I'm not kidding. This is a real thing, right? Like, it's absolutely a
God.
real thing. And I was like, oh my God, right? Like, now that we as a whole populace are living longer, right? There's things to do after retirement, and apparently
Absolutely.
dating and
Wow.
nookie are still a thing.
I, oh yeah, I guess so. Wait, let me go buy a loofah. I'll be right back. No, I'm kidding.
I don't know what color means what. You'll have to do a little research, but like
That is hysterical.
it is, right?
But
And
I
in
get
some
it,
way
they're
it
human
makes
beings
it
still.
easier, right? Like
Yeah, they're human beings and they're still sexual beings and doesn't matter how old they are, it's you still
yeah,
want companionship, you still want love. And you know, that makes we laugh about it, yes, but it's their way of communicating and God bless them, they know what they want.
right. And that I think is the point I was getting to. The older that we get, the less uh dumb dancing around the subject we're forced to do, right? Like
Exactly.
it's super okay in a first date to be like, hey, I'm a cancer survivor and I only have one actual boob. The other one is display.
It's
It's a
my tummy
display model.
fat. It's still my skin, but it's my tummy fat. And you think of all these crazy things. I'm like, well, if the first time we have sex, I could wear this nice, pretty bra and then they'll never see it. I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Why would I do that? To hide myself. Be proud of it. Be proud of the fact that you won.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so, yeah, that's where my mentality goes. It's been very, very warped, I guess.
Well,
But
you're totally entitled, and I don't know what it's like to be an amputee. As far as I'm concerned, that's an amputation, right? Like I didn't have that. Like the parts they took out were internal, so
it was cut off my body. So you're right. I guess it is.
so I don't have any idea what that feels like, but I definitely know what it feels like to have a scar from my belly button to my woohoo. Like it just
Yeah.
so my in the mirror isn't as blatantly obvious as your in the mirror.
Yeah. Well, but it's there. So
I do. I ended up with tattoos. So in order to radiate my abdomen correctly, they asked me if they could give me 3 tattoos. And I was like, how big are these tattoos? And they're like the size of a mole. I'm like, okay. So I ended up with one on each of my hips and then one square in the middle. And
I've got four, like across 1, 2, 3, 4, because that's where the radiation went.
yeah,
Plus then I got a few on my own.
right. I have started covering them up and putting stuff elsewhere. Yeah. Uh,
I thought about that too. I thought about like doing a vine over my hip to hip scar, or something and just making it pretty. But then I thought, why? You know,
I,
why do I have to cover it?
I have covered the hip ones.
That's
The one square on the middle is going to get a butterfly because butterfly
oh,
represents transformation.
yeah.
And I'll eventually get that. I have to find the right artist. I mean, not everybody gets to see that. So
Well, yeah, yeah. And I
yeah,
think and I looked into tattooing my right breast because it doesn't have a nipple. So I thought, well, maybe I should do that. And they're like, well, if you do it, it's never going to match. I was like, yeah, but at least it'll look more normal. And there are some tattoo artists that specialize in that, which is pretty cool.
yes,
But I remember I told my kids, and they're like, why do you want to do that? Because, like, the kids don't see you as
as a
any kind
sexual
of
being.
sexual being, right? They don't see that at all. They just see you as mom. And, but they should know how important women's breasts are to them. I mean, they're important and they're part of their sexuality as well as nurturing and all the other things that they do. But,
Yeah.
it was so funny. Why do you want to do that? I was like, all right, maybe I should have told you. I said, but the way they do it apparently is that they tattoo the color of the areola so that they try to match that as best as they can. And then they pull skin kind of taut and they make a nipple out of it. So you always will have like a
Yeah.
very stiff nipple on the right side, or the side that you get done. And, but I'm like, well, that's not such a bad thing to have if you have to, put a sock in it. No, I'm kidding. Cover it up with something, put a Band-Aid on. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I mean, and maybe some of those things still should be considered because again, maybe that would make me feel, better about things. And I think it's all about that. You have to find out what's going to make you better. What are
Gonna
your
make you better.
obstacles? Right. You have to make your own self better. And whatever you need to do that, you need to do that.
Yes.
And
And if it's a tattoo, another tattoo, then do that, right? I I'm glad you knew about it because I was going to tell you about it.
yeah,
When I found out it was a thing, I got very excited. I was like, that's amazing. That is
yeah,
fantastic.
it is. I know that it's done in New Jersey because that's the first artist I found. But he had a long waiting list when I checked into it. But I'm sure others have done it since then, and it's become more, unfortunately, more prevalent and
More
more popular.
mainstream. Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
to be able to do that. So, um, yeah. So there are things that I can do that I know I can do. It's like dieting. You know how to eat right, but do you do it all the time? I don't. Um,
not all the time.
no, I try to be good, but and here come the holidays again. Here we go. But that's okay. Yeah, it's just, it's treating the whole body, the mind, the body, everything. And
Well, mindset is paramount. It's the first thing.
absolutely,
Start with it because
absolutely.
how you perceive a thing is your reality. You literally build your own reality. So
Yep, you do. Um, but I am again grateful for all the support that I did have. And my journey has been, every time that anniversary comes up, it's like, ugh. And instead of like being upset about it, I celebrate it. I post it on Facebook. I've been 17 years, I'm still here. It's actually this year was I think the first year I didn't say that, but um and I don't remember why. I think I just was working or busy or something, but that to me proves that okay, you're not thinking about this every day and that's good,
yeah,
you
I
know.
I celebrate my cancerversary every year, and on the 5 year and the 10 year and the 50, like those were big ones, right? Like the big numbers, and in March it'll be 17 for me.
Yep. I think
Which
20 will be a big one too.
oh yeah, it'll be huge, right? Like
Yeah,
I just like it's just such a wild concept that it's been that long.
I know. And so much has changed and so much has stayed the same and it's all been part of my journey, your journey, and
Yeah,
it's part of the story. It's the way it is. And time does go on. Time does move on and we do get through it. And I have been asked by a couple of friends and relatives to speak to other friends of theirs or relatives about things. And I always say, yeah. I say, but I say I'm no expert.
but you are,
I'm
but
not
you
a
are.
medical doctor. I'm not but this is
You're
how
a
I do.
survivor.
Yeah, true.
And you walked that, right? Like you lived it. You were in the trenches. So you have knowledge that medical doctors do not have.
I was standing in line at a concert with my sister. We were going to buy a beer. Um, I think we were seeing Katy Perry, and this woman was in front of me, and she had a scarf wrapped around her head, and she looked kind of pale. And I don't know why. I just said to her, I go, "Are you going through something?" And she looked at me and she said, "I am." I said, "Well, I've been there too." And I pulled out my shirt and I showed her my scarf and my port. And I said, "Are you doing okay?" She's like, "I'm doing all right. I'm getting through it." I said, good. You'll be fine. Just keep doing what you're doing. You'll look great. And, I turn around my sister, she's bawling. She's crying hysterically. She's like, I can't believe you just talked to that person. I said, well, I knew
You felt called to.
I had the cancer sense, I was like, she's going through something. And it's like, you'll get there. You'll get to the other side, and my sister's bawling her eyes out behind me.
But she was doing something, right? Like you can tell the fighters because they're out actually living their lives and doing
Yes.
things instead of sitting home
And hiding.
miserable and moaning about the fact that this happened to them. And
Exactly.
instead of like, okay, so this is a thing, right? uh, am I going to sit here and cry, or am I going to go live because I might only have 4 days left?
Right.
Let's go to that concert. Let's go out to dinner. Let's go for that little walk. Even if I have to, all right, let's go for that drive because I can't walk. Get me out of the house. Let's go do something
Right.
to
Let's
the
go live,
best of my
you know?
ability. Yeah.
You're still alive. Go live and go do
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, I say all the time, I work hard, I play hard. I have
Yeah.
3 jobs. I have a full-time job. I have 2 part-time jobs because I like the money and I like to have fun. And, I'm trying to do the right things and pay off things and do the right things. So I go to work every day. But when there's an opportunity, if somebody says, I got a ticket I'm in, I'm in, I'm in, let's go. I don't wait because who knows what tomorrow's going to bring? Who knew what, September 6th was going to bring, or the day I was diagnosed was August, I think August 20. Oh, excuse me. It was August 14th. Um, I didn't know how many more days I had left. And that's my other tattoo. I have one on my arm. It says, ain't wasting time no more. It's a song from the Allman Brothers.
Yeah.
Because I'm just not going to waste it. It's hard to tell people that, though, that aren't used to living that way. It's
Yeah.
hard, but they have to do it because the bottom line is we ain't getting out of this alive anyway.
None of
So
us are, but
let's do this.
when I was
Exactly.
18, I was bulletproof, just like
Of course. We all were, right? I mean, I don't even know. I, I mean, the thought of death, I think I had the first death in my family was when I was around 18. That's when I lost my grandmother, and that was devastating to me. But I mean, knock wood, I haven't until recently had more, and I think that's pretty lucky. I think that's pretty great. But bottom line is, we only have this one life to live it well.
yeah.
And it's hard to do sometimes. I know it's hard to do that. I can say it as much as I want. And there are days that I'm still down. I mean, I had a few in the beginning. When I first was diagnosed, I had a bunch of why me moments, where I just like would shrink to the floor and start crying. Why is this happening to me? And then I'd be like, all right, that's it. Get up now. Like you cried, you got it out, you're done, just move on because this
Yeah.
is not a good place. This is not a good place to be. And, but it's not easy for all people to do that. And I understand that. And, I'm
Which
not
is
trying
why
to,
having that support network is really important.
it's huge. And that's one of the first things that I tell people. If anybody, you know what? I know that you don't want to sit there and talk about it, but I'm telling you, it feels better. Try it once. Just try it once. If you don't like to go, then don't go, but let people in. And also tell people I've had enough when it's time for enough. Like I had to say to my sister, you can't call me every day and ask how I'm doing because I'm
Have
not
to have boundaries.
different than yesterday. So I really, and it's just making me think about how I feel and I don't want to right now. And so you have to have your boundaries and you have to let people in. And it's
Yes.
it's it's whatever balance you're comfortable with, but
Yep.
you know, all in moderation, right?
Yes. And you can ask different people to be different things for you while you're going through that, right? You can have the one that comes over and picks you up and takes you to the park. You can have the one that you do the why me to, and you just vent and you know, and
Yep.
then when you're done, that's the end of the call, right? Like that's that. They're just the verbal whipping person and for a little while.
Yeah.
And because they are built to handle that, right? Like use your resources how you need to use your resources, right? Like people want to help you.
They do, right. And a lot of people feel helpless and, you know, I mean, especially family. I mean, I remember my mother saying, like, why you and not me? Like, I don't understand this. And I'm like, do you think I understand this? I said, but mom, that's not going to help anything that you feel that way.
Right.
Just
Exactly.
be there when I need you. And that's all I can ask of you, and just a lot of, it's funny how family gets involved with stuff like that though, because I remember my father was very upset with me because I had gotten three opinions, not one, not a second, but three opinions to try to figure this out. And they all said the same thing and all had the same protocol. This is the treatment we recommend. And I decided to, one of them was at Sloan Kettering in New York City. And I lived in uh, Dutchess County, New York at the time. And I was like, for me to travel into Manhattan twice a week for 13 weeks and then for radiation was impossible. I had two kids that were very active in sports and not only the cost of going into the city. I said, Dad, I can't do it. He was like mad at me because I wasn't going to go to Sloan. And I said, the doctor here, one town away, did his fellowship at Sloan. They have given me the same protocol. I can drive myself there. I
Yep.
need to do, and I can still make basketball games and soccer games and do what I have. I have to do what's right for my life. Trust me. I'll be okay.
Yep.
But why didn't you go to the best? Well, sometimes the best is not always the best, and because you have to take everything into consideration.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. You
And
did
like I
what
said,
was best for your family.
I did the educated thing. I knew the protocols were the same in all three places, and this was so close to home, and I was comfortable with my oncologist, and I said, I'm doing it here. This is my choice and I'm doing it here. So, and it turned out to be a good choice. But
Yeah.
it's stuff like that that comes up that could cause a lot of strife in families and things. And luckily it didn't, you know, because concern can become anger, can become, intrusion and
Resentment. Yep.
resentment. And it's really not anything but they're scared, just like
Yes.
you're. And it's hard to accept sometimes because you think, I'm the one going through this. Why are you getting mad at me? Like, but if you flip it around and
It's
I
all
get
in
it,
love.
it's
Yeah.
all based on love. Exactly. And
Whether it's coming across that way or not, it's based in love and
definitely,
yeah,
definitely. Um,
especially when it's coming from parents because they would rather they have to deal with the challenge than their children deal with
I
the
would,
challenge.
I would too. I would feel the same way. I'd rather like give it to me. I don't, let me bear it, and if something happened with one of my kids, but that's not how it works.
Not how it works.
That's not how the cards are dealt. Unfortunately, but
No, not at all. All right. Well, it was absolutely fantastic having you here, Lisa, talking about your story. We really appreciate it.
thank you very much for having me, Tanya. And I appreciate meeting you and I appreciate your journey. And, I hope that you continue to be healthy and well. And
You too.
thank you. And if you ever want to, I don't know, pick my brain or if I'm going to pick your brain, can I get back in touch with you?
Of course you can.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
same
All
here.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Until next time, Cancer Warriors, have a good night.